Hello, and welcome to our webinar on Meet New York's refrigerant requirements while cutting costs. If you run an independent grocery store in New York, there's an important new regulation you need to know about. Starting this year, New York is requiring stores to monitor and maintain their refrigeration systems more closely. While this might sound like another compliance headache, there's actually good news. There's money available to help you upgrade your equipment and reduce your operating costs at the same time. So here's what's happening. New York wants to reduce harmful emissions from refrigeration systems, which means you'll need to keep track of your equipment, test for leaks regularly, and fix any problems. The catch, these quarterly leak checks can add up to about $2,400 a year. But here's the opportunity. New York State is offering grants that cover up to 75% of the cost to upgrade your refrigeration system to be more energy efficient. And best of all, installing modern leak detection equipment, which satisfies the new regulation, actually eliminates the need for those expensive quarterly checks. So one investment handles both the requirement and the savings. So during this webinar, we're going to walk you through what you need to do, how to access state grant funding, and how to make your refrigeration systems work smarter for your bottom line. Whether you're looking to stay compliant, save money, or both, this session is designed for independent grocers like you. I am Jessica Vishen with the Independent Grocers Alliance, and I would like to welcome our experts on this matter, Jonathan Tan and Peter Cook from Grocery PoP. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Hi, folks. This is Peter Cook from Grocery PoP, and this is my colleague Jonathan.
Hello, all.
And Grocery PoP is dedicated to helping food retailers pop their profit by driving performance through operational precision. We work with food retailers all around the country to uncover hidden opportunities that improve profitability, strengthen operations, and create lasting results. So as Jessica said, today's topic, we're going to talk about some opportunities in the state of New York. There are two different opportunities, and one of them is through NYSERDA. It is a state efficiency program, and that opportunity is to do store assessments to highlight operational efficiencies, energy efficiency, places that your store can start saving money immediately. And the NYSERDA opportunity requires a study of your store to be done where we can uncover all the zero cost and low cost opportunities for your store to start saving money. The other New York opportunity is through their refrigerant regulation, Part 494. And so we're going to talk about how you can actually combine the New York NYSERDA opportunity to also find out how you can be in compliance with the refrigeration regulation through automatic leak detection. And we're also going to describe the Grocery PoP 12-month profit accelerator class.
All right. So NYSERDA FlexTech is a 75% grant. So that means you can get up to 75% of a cost associated with a store assessment. But we've been working with NYSERDA, and as Peter mentioned, there's a couple other items that we can include into the process and therefore also get paid. So you're going to receive a store assessment. You're going to receive detailed reporting on energy efficiency opportunities. So as Peter mentioned, both low cost and no cost. We're going to talk a little bit more about that very soon. But we're also going to detail some of the higher level big things that you can do as far as capital equipment and provide you very detailed payback and profit impact from those types of projects. You're also going to receive a refrigerant strategy. So we're going to actually detail out your leak rate. We're going to detail out your costs associated with managing your system. And because Peter and I have benchmarked several thousand stores, we can give you an idea of where you are as far as best in class and what kind of opportunities are there to increase profitability through the management of that system and provide details into future strategy on what to do with that system. Change out the refrigerant, change out the full system, change out part of the system, and give you an idea of what the payback is in return on invested capital, net present value, or whatever other tools that you utilize into determining what payback would be. And then finally, we'll give you a total financial impact across all the different things that we can find through that assessment and give you what those profit improvements going to be. All the while, where 75% of this can be covered underneath the grant through NYSERDA. So what's included in the assessment? We're going to benchmark all of your energy sources, electricity, natural gas, propane, whatever you use for heating, water, and all of your other sources of energy into the store. We're going to detail out your operations compared to best in class. So based on your square footage, based on your store sales, based on your type of operations, we can give you an idea of what's kind of possible as far as improving your store related to those different types of activities. Then you're going to get those recommendations, what those cost reductions are, and that profit improvement. So specific items, many of which are going to be low and no cost items, things that you can change in your store right away, as Peter described. What the payback and cash flow improvement would look like, and what those efficiency recommendations. So these are going to include typically equipment-based types of things, controls, capital equipment, and then working with you to understand what your goals are and where you're trying to go. And then lastly, you're going to have your refrigerant leak rate calculation and all of the requirements required underneath Part 494 for as far as improvements and what you need to be looking out for in the future as Part 494 becomes more mature. So that's the assessment. So here's an optional component. And again, we can include this in the grant and we can get 75% coverage for this as well. So one is we can install a cloud-based predictive automatic leak detection system. And so this includes not only the black box, which connects your system to the cloud to leverage cloud computing, but it also includes any missing temperature and pressure instruments. It includes a liquid level sensor into your receiver, and it also includes 6 months of the SaaS service. So this is a service or software as a service component. And then after that, you could take on that SaaS fee after the first 6 months. If you wish to not continue with the service, all of those equipment that is installed is yours to keep. So that is yours. Those additional temperature and pressure sensors, which will tie into your existing controller, will still be there also with that liquid level sensor as well. So those are yours. And then another component from the diagnostics that come out of that system, we can actually tell real-time refrigeration system performance. So we can actually see the health of your system. And that actually goes back to a call center and can provide real-time improvements to your system. So if you keep that going after that free period, you're also going to not only get the automatic leak detection, but you're also going to get insights into degradation of the system, and it'll provide insights into, for example, in the summertime, if you're ever having to put in a sprinkler or something on your condenser to be able to keep the systems running, you can see those challenges in advance and actually make those corrections before they become a shutdown or a product loss. And then the other optional item is our accelerator class. So this is a 12-month curriculum that we've put together to provide contextual knowledge around several different areas of your store. And with this, it provides a workbook every single month. It provides a case study and then a 1-hour report out at the end where we can answer questions, review the case study, and then really dial that specifically to your store. So it's a huge value. We're going to talk about the payback associated with this here in just a moment, but this can be included as an option, but it has to be done on the front end application to make sure that we can get 75% of that covered. And then at the end of the 12 months, you're going to get a second benchmarking. So through the assessment, we're going to benchmark your store the first time. 12 months later, you're going to get that second benchmarking through the accelerator program. And any changes or things that you have done, we'll be able to see how those impacted your store. So it's a huge value and it's a huge impact, and it's something that can be demonstrably shown on the profit that improves your store. So here's the brass tacks. Here's the scope of work, pricing. So for the assessment, this is what the basis of the program is for. The assessment is $2,400. With the FlexTech grant, that's $1,800. And so the IGA member price becomes $600. We're going to talk about payback here. This is in days. If you include your refrigerant leak detection. So that's worth $10,000 of equipment and of the 6 months of the SaaS fee. So this is $7,500 grant to cover that. So now your net cost is only $2,500. As Jessica kind of mentioned in the intro, just for leak detection for the service, that's $2,400 a year. If you're doing it manually or having a technician come in, you're paying typically a minimum of 4-hour service, and you're doing that either monthly or quarterly. So the costs become roughly the same, but the difference is this is predictive leak detection. So you're going to find a leak in the matter of ounces versus pounds. And I'm actually utilizing this process and this service for a program for Southern California Edison today, and we're seeing significant reduction in refrigerant leaks and improvement in system. We're going to talk about what that is here in just a moment. And then lastly, for the accelerator class, it's basically $99 a month, but for the full year, it's $1,188. And at 75% grant, that's $891. And so your net price is $297. And then again, not only are you getting that monthly curriculum to really drive contextual knowledge, efficiency, and understanding in areas of improvement within your store, but you're also getting that second benchmarking at the end of that 12 months. So to be able to see the before and after of any changes that you made in the store.
Sorry. I have a quick question about the pricing. So when you say it was, it's like, yes, so like 2,400, 10,000, 1188, right? That's what the retailer will spend up front, and then they'll get the grant money back?
No. So we will invoice, so we can actually invoice the grant first.
Okay.
And then the total out of pocket for the customer will be the 25%.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
It's a great question, important question, stuff that comes up all the time. So yes, we totally understand. It's a bigger deal. Also, we'll talk about this more here in a moment when Peter shows what's required, because there is some information required on the front end for the application, but you're going to get approved and you're going to know exactly what you've been approved for on the front end. So all of the costs and everything will be known before you spend anything. So that's a good point.
Okay. Thanks.
So the payback. So for the study, it's typically 4 days or fewer. There's going to be one item on there that's going to pay or be worth that $600 that maybe you knew in the back of your mind had an impact on your store. Maybe you didn't know exactly what the specifics were, the value of it. And so it became difficult to either implement or deploy and not really knowing all of the details around it. We're going to help you detail that out and determine what that is. And just by implementing one of these low or no cost items, it's going to pay for that $600 in 4 days or fewer. And this could be in food waste reduction, it could be in energy, it could be in any one of those different areas, because we're going to be measuring and benchmarking all of those inputs and outputs of your store. For the refrigerant automatic leak detection, this is typically 30+% reduction in leaks over the first 6 to 9 months. This pays for itself in 60 to 90 days. Basically, one event, it's going to prevent one event that is going to require a technician, which is going to require replacement refrigerant. And so it typically pays for itself in one event. But you're going to see 30% plus reduction in leak rate in the first 6 to 9 months. And again, as we discussed, you're also going to get the system health in real time that's going to be monitored, that's going to be connected to a call center. And then you can have that set up with your local service provider to be able to help you get in front of costly repairs. And so it becomes a service call on the front end, making some system changes versus a fix and break fix kind of situation. So typically payback is in 60 to 90 days for the $2,500 outlay for that program. And then again, you're going to get 6 months of that service also included. And then if you decide that you don't want to continue the service, the equipment that is installed is still yours to keep. Then lastly, the Profit Accelerator. So this is our class. So this typically, again, as we start going through and digging very deep every single month in each of the different topics, it's going to cover food waste. It's going to cover toxins. It's going to recover more in-depth refrigerant strategy. Just deploying any one of those ideas It pays for itself typically in 18 to 31 days is the value of just one of those items that you decide that, hey, this is something that makes sense for us to implement into our store. And then having that contextual knowledge and understanding, and then being able to manage those different aspects of your store, and then seeing where some of that process improvement can really help. So those are some of the big details. So the question is, how do you join? Sounds like, do you have a question, Jessica?
I do, yes. I just want to clarify. So to satisfy the requirements of, is it NYSERDA? Did I say that correctly?
Correct.
Um, does a retailer, would they need to do all three of these?
No, you just have to you have to do the study. That is what the main basis of the grant is. But we've already worked with NYSERDA, and we can include those other two items as part of the process. And so
Right.
it's a way to get those costs offset if we're able to include them with your grant application on the front
Right.
end.
They're going to help the retailer and the store anyway, so you might as well have some of it covered by the grant. But at
Absolutely.
minimum, it's the study and report, the
Correct.
first name on the left. Okay, got it.
Correct.
Thanks.
And so you can, if you do the study, you can also do the automatic leak detection and not do the accelerator, or you can do the study and the accelerator and not do the automatic leak detection, or do the study on its own. So those are your choices.
But why not do it all?
It's a huge value to your store, big impact. And the other key component is when you're doing it all, you're going to be able to see what that before and after is. So we'll
Right.
have the initial study that shows what your different costs are, and then we're going to measure it all on the back end. So you're going to see what that specific change was and that specific profit improvement. So it's a pretty big deal when you start talking, process improvement over time. You could take big swings with different things here and there, but it's really those small little things that you keep doing every single day that really impacts and improves profit.
Okay.
And so the process to get in can be difficult. And that's where Peter and I are going to make that as simple as possible for each of you. And one of the big things that we were able to really be a benefit for IGA and being a supporter of all of the IGA member stores is by being able to consolidate applications and bring in multiple stores into the process. And this was a key thing because doing this onesie twosie on your own is kind of difficult for the retailer. It's difficult for your service provider or the person that's doing this work. And it becomes kind of hard to do. And it increases a lot of those costs. And so by being able to bring these together and bank them in applications, we're going to be able to reduce those costs of delivery, reduce those costs for application, and it quite frankly makes it easier for NYSERDA to actually review and approve, because this has been a very difficult market for NYSERDA to impact, because they understand the GHG, the greenhouse gas emissions that come from stores, not because stores are inherently bad, but with refrigerant emissions, with food waste, with the different things that are happening at the store, this can also help the state meet its goals. And they know that this is an important sector, and then being able to get these dollars back into the grocery sector is a big deal. So by being able to consolidate these into bigger applications is a win for everyone. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter, and he's going to talk about some of the things that you're going to need to provide, and we'll have a link for you to be able to put that information. And if you've got it all, it should take you less than 5 minutes, but Peter's going to go through it. But here is the QR code. We'll keep that up here for a moment.
Thanks, Jonathan. That's
let's
helpful.
keep that up here for a moment. And also, Jessica can also send out a link with the email, so that way if you want to go through the application process on the desktop. I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to take you through what our application process that we have boiled down from the NYSERDA process, so that way it's more streamlined and quicker and easier for you as the retailer to fill out. So this is the Grocery PoP version of the NYSERDA application form. And this has just the pertinent information that you're going to need to fill out to have an application get underway. So obviously it's going to ask what your name and your contact information is. If you can put in your company EIN number, that would be fantastic. But we're also going to need the name of your store, the address, the year built, square footage information, and if you have multiple buildings, you can indicate that here. Then we have a question here where you can check in all the boxes necessary for any retrofits that have already been completed at the building at the time of your application. So check all that apply, put in what type of fuel source that you have, whether it's natural gas, number 2, oil, or propane, how many gallons the tank is, if you know it, and then the approximate age of the HVAC system, the condition of it, the approximate age of the refrigeration system and the condition of it. We're going to want to know what your hours of operation are, the average number of full-time employees, part-time employees, the average number of shoppers per day. And then NYSERDA also wants to know about flood risk. So you can answer these questions here about whether or not there's been ever any historical flooding at the site. And if you have a yes as an answer, we can have you type in the box any of the description. And then any of the measures that are in place right now for flood protection. And we also have other information that NYSERDA wants here, so you can document whether or not any HVAC equipment is exposed to flooding. And then to get to the automatic leak detection part, which is New York Part 424, if you are interested in the automatic leak detection and you press yes, a couple more questions will come up that you could answer. And so we ask about refrigeration system controllers, if you have them or not, or if you're unsure. If you're unsure and you have something that looks like this example of a controller, you can take a picture of it and upload it to this file, and then we can answer that question for you. Same thing with the refrigerant receiver, and you can take a picture if you're unsure. And then right before you end up submitting this, we give you a little information here about the utility that we will need utility information. You don't have to upload it to this form, but when you submit, you will see that this application requires 3 years worth of utility bills and a signed authorization form. But when you submit this form to us with your email, we will then email you another link that you can upload those forms. But that is what I just went through is just the initial information that you'll need. And we have scaled this down from a pretty lengthy application process on the NYSERDA website. But if you can fill that out and get that back to us, then we can further facilitate that application process. But this way, it's a lot easier for the retailer to initiate the process is by going through this form that I just showed.
Great. That's really helpful. Thank you. Anything else you guys want to discuss today about the regulations or any of the options available to the New York retailers?
So for the New York retailers, for those that have fewer than 20 stores, which I'm assuming is most of you, you would have started your leak detection would have started June 1st of this year. And so you can either do, as we discussed, a manual leak detection. That's where you have a technician come in and then certify using they call them a wand or a sniffer to go through the entirety of your store and to ensure that there aren't any leaks. Although this is a good practice, this can be very expensive to have a technician come in because you are having a certified licensed technician for the state to come in, and typically that's several hours worth of work each time they come in. And the other component of it is, although it is a good practice, it can be, there can be errors. And I don't mean errors that the technician is making, but the sensitivity of some of those sniffers can be to a point to where it's hard depending on where that leak is. So More often than not, the leak has to be of a certain size for it to be able to pick up. And at that point, if it's big enough for that sniffer to pick up, you have a problem. And that problem is going to need to be addressed. And that problem is probably going to cost you in the hundreds, if not $1,000. Where you have the automatic leak detection with the predictive component to it. So it's using cloud-based computing. It's utilizing temperatures and pressures in your system. And it can tell you if you have the start of a leak, if it's on your suction side, if it's on the discharge side. And it can kind of give the technician a general idea of where it's happening in the system, and then provide them details of where to look and find it. And that is going to be in the matter of ounces. And so you are going from, we're seeing from the data, I have data on about 2,000 stores right now. And of that data, the average event is close to 100 pounds of gas. So 100 pounds of gas at $20 a pound, that's $2,000 right there just in replacement refrigerant, not including the service call, not including the new equipment or piece of equipment that needs to be repaired. So often that can be double that amount. So when you're finding these leaks in the matter of ounces, more often than not, the repair is much simpler. And we're talking about, just the cost of a couple hour service call to fix some minor thing. It could be a valve, it could be a cap or something easy, versus that thing blowing off and now it's requiring some significant repair. So that's one of the advantages of doing it. You don't have to have that person come in every quarter, and you're going to have that kind of predictive component, which is going to have a payback to it. And then lastly, what you're probably going to now experience is you're going to have to do your first report. So there's a refrigerant management program portfolio that you're going to have to fill out, and you're going to have to start doing that in March of next year. So next year you'll have to put in all of your leaks and all of your repairs for the year of 2026. And we are going to document where you are today. So that'll be part of the process. And then we're going to give you the tools to be able to do that on your own and show you the math and show you how it works and give you the basically opportunity for success in the future to see how it's done. And then to benchmark you against the thousands of stores that Peter and I have visited. So we can give you an idea. Hey, here's where you are. You're spending 10% more than most, 20% more, double more, and give you an idea. And if you're less or better, what are those behaviors? What are those things helping you benchmark the things that you're doing today to keep doing those and be able to quantify how they're helping you save that precious dollar that is straight profit for you. So that's one thing that I would add as far as the refrigerant piece. And then just getting some numbers as far as the strategy of where you're going to go. If your system is in that 5 to 10 years, you're probably going to continue to run that for another 5 to 10 more years. If your system is in that 10 to 15, where do you want to be in 5 years? Because you're going to have to start making some decisions on what you want to do in the future. And if you're already operating a system that's 15 plus years old, then we can help you with the math to determine, hey, here are your options. Here are different ways to go. And more often than not, if you're going to invest in these systems, we can typically show for every dollar that you invest in replacing and going to a natural refrigerant system, that could be worth anywhere from $2 to as much as $8 for every dollar that you invest. So that's a big impact. But we can do that math for you, and we can uncover that through this process. And again, 75% of that's paid for through the grant. And then, Peter, you want to add any other additional things on some of the associate engagement and waste streams and those kinds of things?
Part of the Profit Accelerator program can enhance employee engagement as well as improve on recycling, and we have metrics that we calculate to help improve recycling rates, whether it's film plastic or cardboard or diversion or donation of food.
And when you say that there is an increase in employee engagement, what do you mean by that?
Well, as grocery stores it's incredibly important for good customer engagement. Everybody knows when you have an unengaged employee, it's one of the worst experiences ever. But a lot of retailers are challenged at how to effectively engage their employees. So we have an employee engagement challenge for the retailer, which is a quick finite period of time, only 1 week period, to focus in on one practice, to drive conformance on one practice that can either improve recycling to make sure that possible materials are not in the waste stream, but they're being diverted, which could have a pretty positive effect on the bottom line.
Sure.
And we focus in on those for a finite period of time, and we allow those employees that want to engage in the process to engage in that process. And then we calculate the metrics on what the benefit is and what the conformance level is. And it's all based on recognition, because if you recognize the process and you recognize their participation in it, there's an 86% chance that they will continue on with that behavior that you've requested, the conformance of that behavior. But if you keep hammering in like different things that you want done, they only have time in a day to do 25 things, but we're asking them to do 30 things each day.
Right.
But when we focus on one and we recognize it, they have that higher conformance rate. But if you focus on one, they do it without the recognition, it's like an 86% chance that they will revert back to the old behavior. So it's really keys on recognition, and it keys on managing this through a finite, quick, expeditious process.
Makes sense. I like it. Awesome. Well, if that's it, then I guess we'll wrap up the webinar, but we will, as mentioned earlier, we will be sending out a recording of this. We will also send out the link to sign up and get additional information for our New York retailers. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will get back to you on those. And otherwise, you can reach out to your IGA reps if you have any questions, and we can always route you to Jonathan and Peter if you don't already have their contact information. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for breaking this down for us. I know it's a complex it's just very complex, but I appreciate you taking the time to explain it, and hopefully we will be able to see some traction from the retailers using you guys to help satisfy these requirements. All right. Thank you to all who joined us, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.